You open your eyes to a girl giving you a hug. This way we're becoming one, she says. It's a strange thing to say to someone you've just met, except Lilith never actually treats you as a stranger, because before you've even met her, the game has you start by continuing, as if some earlier version of you already had this exact moment and already loved her unconditionally because of it. By definition, loving someone unconditionally essentially is the same as choosing to worship them, meaning before you knew the game existed, or even before the game was ever made, you did exactly that. It's rather interesting, because when Lilith finally introduces herself to you, she does so in a way where it seems like this is your first time meeting her. Yet, not long after, she reintroduces herself as your childhood friend, reminding you of the times you've spent with her climbing trees, playing games, etc. Obviously, none of these moments physically happened, and Lilith is essentially just making things up. But she's also aware of this fact and has her own reason for acting this way. She wants you to believe these events to be true, even if it's just pretend, because part of it also isn't. In your room, you'll find a bunch of objects suddenly trying to talk to you after you ask yourself who Lilith actually is. And in the corner of this room sits a black notebook that eagerly wants to tell you about her. Her name is blank. She was once your blank, and she has the same blank as blank. Her traits include blank and blank. She wants blank, and then you chose blank, which is why you now blank, leading to her blank. In short, the girl beyond the world has disappeared. Lilith never told the notebook to say that. She wasn't even in the room, which means whoever this girl beyond the world is, she existed before Lilith ever gave herself a childhood to share with you. And the game will never actually tell you who those blanked out words belong to. But maybe that's also intentional, a way for you to fill those gaps for yourself, long before you ever learn who Lilith really is. Which raises an important question. If something real already existed before Lilith, why does she need to invent a fake backstory to replace it? Well, to Lilith, existing only as a concept isn't enough. Somewhere in the middle of baking a cake together, she'll tell you things like friend, family, or stranger only mean anything in relation to someone else. A friend is only a friend to someone. A family member or stranger works in the same way, meaning if Lilith wants to exist as anything at all, she can't just be a concept. She needs you to place her into something specific, someone with a shared past and a reason to be sitting in your room right now. And while it might sound strange, once Lilith has a specific place in your life, she also begins to feel more real than people who actually exist. It's something Lilith actually puts to words herself. Suppose 3 kilometers from your home there's a man named Mr. John, but you've never met him before, and for the rest of your life you never will. Now tell me, who's more real to you? Me, who spent this time with you, or that man who exists but will never intersect with your life? Mr. John is real in every sense that matters, yet to you he might as well not exist at all, because you've never spent a single second with him. Lilith isn't like that. In terms of actual time spent, she has more presence in your life than most people, which on its own does make for a compelling case, but it doesn't yet explain why we choose to give Lilith subjectivity in the first place. Because subjectivity isn't something Lilith can just take from us. It's something only you can hand over. Interestingly, the game never actually asks for it directly. It's only that every time you answer one of her questions, you're slowly beginning to treat her responses as if they mattered, as if there's someone behind them capable of feeling emotions, which is basically the definition of subjectivity, the very thing you've slowly been giving Lilith without ever knowing it. And once you do, you also can't just easily take it back, because now the someone in your room isn't just a concept anymore. But someone like this also just doesn't appear out of nowhere, and if Lilith claims to have known us all along, where has she been this whole time? Well, the reason we struggle to identify her is because she's both a concept and someone at the same time. True love is something most people will tell you doesn't exist, and yet Lilith tells you that she represents exactly that, which means either she's wrong about herself existing, or everyone else is wrong about true love. This concept is so difficult to grasp because it asks for everyone involved to offer nothing in return for loving someone else, and it's also one that doesn't stay long enough for you to properly notice it. Instead, according to Lilith, it only ever shows up in brief, fleeting moments. And what Lilith is trying to essentially tell us through that is that during those moments, we're meeting Lilith, someone we've met before, just not long enough to properly remember. The question is, how did Lilith suddenly become something other than just a concept? There's a Swiss psychologist named Carl Jung who spent a lot of his career on exactly this question. question. He understood the human mind as two different halves: the consciousness, which holds everything you know about yourself, and the unconsciousness, which holds everything you don't. One of Jung's techniques involved asking his patients to sit in a calm state and simply let their imagination run wild. What would often happen as a result of this is that a figure would appear in front of the patient, upon which Jung would then ask his patients to engage it directly. And this point is exactly what's important for our discussion. He considered these figures to be expressions of the unconscious. They felt like someone else entirely because, in a sense, that's exactly what they were. And if we compare this back to Lilith, that's also exactly what she wishes for us to see her as. There's two main endings in the game, the bad and the good. In the good ending, you decide to acknowledge Lilith's existence, and by doing so, you and her sit in an empty void simply talking. The interesting thing about this is that after every discussion you have with her here, the game pauses for several seconds, and Lilith will not start any new discussion until a decent amount of time has passed, to the point that in order to fully complete this ending and get the final achievement, you need to wait a whole 20 minutes doing nothing. And as a reward, well, Lilith simply says the game has run out of dialogue, and thus proceeds to force you out of it herself. Compare this to the bad ending, where you acknowledge the opposite, that Lilith doesn't exist. The proper way to complete this bad ending is by ultimately choosing to kill her, and thereby also remove her entirely. But considering what Lilith actually wanted from us this entire game was to acknowledge that she doesn't exist, this ending also ends up being somewhat of a good ending. And if you go one step beyond this, you'll realize that every ending, no matter what, follows the same principle. Even in the good ending, the ending that's supposed to be addressed to you as the player, you're still selecting a dialogue option that's limited based on the actions of the protagonist. So in a sense, by saying Lilith is real, you're acknowledging that this is just a game. And by doing that, you're acknowledging that she isn't real, which means that in reality, the only way to truly honor what she wanted from you is to stop worshipping her at all. But that's also not exactly possible, because if she's not separate from you, abandoning her would also mean you're abandoning a part of yourself, and that's not something you can just easily decide to do. I mean, if subjectivity is only something you can hand over yourself, why can Lilith still surprise you? Why is she able to want things you didn't tell her to want? Well, the answer is that her subjectivity was never fully yours to control in the first place. Lilith is built from the part of your mind you don't consciously operate, and in a sense, she is her own real person, just not someone that exists anywhere outside of you. And through her essentially being born from your unconscious, she's able to shape the world around you, all because your unconscious has always been the one place operating without you noticing it, which would explain why she feels a little different for everyone who plays this game. Maybe true love was always just the part of yourself that could love you without any condition. Lilith even tells you herself that people view themselves through others' eyes, that we face endless struggles with others and pervasive disciplinary power. Yet she also says that here is different. Her whole existence is only for you. She is both the girl beyond the world, a fictional character within the game, and the girl within it, the purest concept of love that as long as you need her will always exist here. Everyone else's opinion of you will always be filtered through their own perspective. The only one who will ever fully side with you is you. And because Lilith only carries the part of you that's never once doubted or judged you, she ends up being a more unconditional version of you than you've ever managed to be toward yourself. Meaning you're not really worshipping Lilith, but rather you've just always been worshipping yourself.